Hello and welcome to the Telco Innovation Summit in partnership with VMware and Intel. I'm Guy Daniels, Director of Content at TelecomTV. 5G implementation and adoption are finally underway. The complexity and breadth this transformation brings imposes profound changes to the way CSPs do their business. With declining consumer ARPU and increasing infrastructure and spectrum investments, it is critical to modernize, optimize, and monetize quickly. Winning new business from enterprise customers is going to require agility, scalability, and flexibility. But how do telcos get there? This 90-minute program will comprise discussions with VMware and Intel executives on their recent products addressing CSP challenges and their views on the industry's evolution. CSP leaders will offer us a glimpse into their journey to 5G transformation, touching on network cloudification and the reorientation towards enterprise services. We will also include discussions with smaller vendors looking to harness the edge and the opportunities presented by Open RAN, such as the RAN Intelligent Controller. We open the summit with an interview with VMware's CEO, Raghu Raghuram. My editorial colleague, Rayla Matra, started by asking him about the next phase of VMware's evolution and what he regards as VMware's current strategic priorities for multi-cloud and the global service provider industry.
This is what I would call phase 3 of VMware's evolution and growth. Phase 1 for us was our growth as a server virtualization vendor and becoming a leader in server virtualization. Phase 2 for us was becoming the leader in private cloud, taking the same principles of server virtualization and applying it to the entire data center. So the third phase of our growth is becoming an ubiquitous software platform that enables multi-cloud computing. Our customers, enterprises, and service providers worldwide are increasingly adopting multiple public clouds. They're, of course, building out their private cloud, and they're building out the edge of the network and transforming that into a cloud. This is what we refer to as multi-cloud. 75% of our customers are using 2 public clouds or more. 40% are using 3 or more. And the reason they're doing it is to accelerate their own growth initiatives and their digital transformation. We are able to make multi-cloud easy for enterprises and service providers alike. We enable them to move faster. We enable them to spend less as they make this transformation. And most importantly, we provide them with the freedom of choice to build the right application on the cloud of their choice, whether it's a public cloud A, public cloud B, private cloud, or deploying it at the edge. We call this enterprise sovereignty. Idea behind enterprise sovereignty is that enterprises and service providers alike ought to be free to pick the right application for their business and the right data and deliver it using the right assets at their disposal. And we are very, very excited to be enabling enterprise sovereignty for our service provider customers, giving them the freedom of choice while accelerating their evolution and their growth.
And what role do you see VMware playing for communication service providers around the world as 5G networks become more widely deployed? And where do you see VMware fitting in with the broader ecosystem as the hyperscalers form partnerships with the CSPs at the edge?
So the communication service providers, VM has had a long history of working with the communication service providers, helping them drive their new business initiatives as well as make their infrastructure a lot more efficient. Today, we are present in 17 out of the top 20 global communication service providers. Like most of the companies, we started out with them in their data center, making their data centers more flexible and software-based. But over the last several years, we've been critical to them in the core of their network as they operate their core voice and data functions and deliver services on top of those. And the next phase of evolution of our partnership with service providers is helping them with their 5G build-out. We are truly becoming the operating system of 5G for these communication service providers as they transform their radio access networks to be powered by software. And almost every global service provider that we speak to is interested in working with not only just one hyperscaler, but they're interested in accessing the services of multiple hyperscalers. So they are a poster child for what I've been talking about as the multi-cloud era of computing. And so we have become especially relevant to our service providers as they think about building and delivering new and amazing services at the edge that could be comprised of building blocks from all of the hyperscalers. And VMware being cloud agnostic, number one, but also having deep partnerships with all of the hyperscalers greatly helps them in that strategic initiative.
Now, Open RAN is high up the list of strategic priorities for almost every communications service provider currently, as it comes with the potential to fundamentally revamp the economics of network deployments and, perhaps more importantly, provides greater freedom for operators to engage with a broader range of vendors, while also being a catalyst for innovation. What is VMware's role with Open RAN, and how can the recent announcement of VMware's RAN Intelligent Controller, or RIC platform, help you to drive innovation for your partners and customers?
That's a great question. I mean, by now, we've all heard the phrase software is eating the world. So in this case, software is eating the radio access network, right? That is getting transformed into a software capability delivered on top of virtualized hardware. And many ecosystem partners today are delivering virtualized radio access network software. The next phase of that is an open and virtualized radio access network software. And ORAN is tremendously exciting because, number one, the industry has rallied around it. It's becoming universally accepted as a better way to do RAN. So that's point number one. Point number two, like you pointed out, it is open, which means that the era of vertical radio access network stacks is coming to an end. You can literally choose best of breed software for various aspects of the RAN architecture. And that does two things. One is it provides service providers with a choice of best of breed software. And then secondly, it drives down the economics of building out these large scale radio access networks, which can otherwise get super expensive. So this is a super interesting development. But strategically, whenever there has been an open standard, there has been a big ecosystem that has gravitated around the standard. And what that does, in addition to lowering the economics cost, is it increases the innovation cycle. And that's what's most exciting about this. And tying it to the second part of the question, right? In order to get the innovation ecosystem going, the the interface controller plays a very, very critical role. It is one part of the architecture that enables the control of new software, bringing in new software functions that can literally change the functioning of the RAN architecture itself, right? Set of applications that the RIC can enable is called XApps. And one such XApp is an XApp that increases spectrum efficiency. Now, think about what communication service providers' most expensive cost item is. It is the cost of spectrum. Now, if you can make the spectrum even 5%, 1%, 2% more efficient, it's a savings of enormous amounts, millions, billions of dollars, literally. So we are very, very excited to be driving the development of this RAN interface controller. And what it will do is it will spur a whole ecosystem of development. It'll bring about a whole new community of developers that, quite candidly, have not today seen the telco network as a place of new innovation, right? They are more interested in building business applications and consumer applications and so on. Now, all of those applications and all of the developer mindset and the creativity can come into to delivering new RAN services. That's what's fundamentally exciting about the RIC. And the spectrum efficiency in all of these initial class of applications literally pays for itself because of the savings it can generate for the communication service providers. And we are very excited to be right in the middle of this development and building out the RIC.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt that the operators are very excited about the potential innovation and efficiencies that Open RAN can bring. Raghu, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you today. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was TelecomTV's Rayla Matra talking with VMware CEO Raghu Raghuram about the company's strategy developments in the 5G era and VMware's role in Open RAN. And we'll be hearing much more about the RIC later in this summit. As Raghu said during his interview, VMware has a long history of working with the world's leading CSPs. Lakshmi Mandyam, VP for Service Provider Product Management and Partner Ecosystem at VMware, spoke with Mauro Costa, Director of Network and Cloud Design and Architecture at the Telia company, to discover how the CSP is executing its cloud strategy.
What do you feel the main benefits were from the telco cloud deployments so far, and how do you see things going in the future?
Well, I think the benefits of virtualizing the platform and then creating a common digital platform are quite huge and quite extensive. We have seen from the beginning quite a significant increase in the robustness of the systems. We actually had before to live with physically vertically deployed systems that actually created a lot of fragmentation in the network. With a single digital platform, you have more control on what definitely is going on. Now, obviously, this doesn't come for free. It comes through, I would say, an extensive redesign of your processes, an extensive redesign of how you do fulfillment and assurance, and an extensive also rethinking of how we interpret the end-to-end in the network. But definitely the benefits are in a more, definitely more robust network, more resilient network, the ability to deal with software in a more native manner. And in particular, when it comes to the recent experience that we had in moving real intensive user plane traffic on top of this platform, what is phenomenal is actually the ability to play with capacity when you need capacity, where you need capacity. You can scale it in, you can scale it out. And these capabilities, once you develop the necessary automation tools in the system, will give you enormous benefits. With cloud native, obviously, we are taking this to the next level. Cloud native sometimes is seen as the cure of all the limitations that we currently have in networks. As a matter of fact, I think this goes a bit beyond what we can do today. We will be able to deal with software in a fully cloud native perspective. This will increase our ability to bring in more innovative solutions in the system. And that is actually quite relevant for us. It will increase our ability to experiment. I think one of the desire that we have in the system is to be able really to go out there as fast as possible, to do co-creation with customers, and to make sure that we have the possibility to understand the value of new services and the new propositions with a digital platform that is natural, that comes very natural. And I think this is where we see the big value of it, above and beyond the operational increased capabilities. We are restructuring our first, second, and third line when it comes actually to operations. We are making this more modern. We are concentrating on what drives actually value to the customers, as opposed to concentrating on other things that actually are probably more difficult to extract when it comes to the overall process that we currently have in our network. So, at the end of the day, it is about creating a flexible platform and a flexible way to address emerging customer needs that we today do not necessarily know. We don't have a crystal ball, nobody has. But we know that a lot is happening out there, and we need to be prepared with a platform of such flexibility to be able to seize that challenge. And this is the solution that we feel gives us the necessary ammunition towards towards what is going to happen in the market.
That was Telia's Mauro Costa discussing the telco cloud with Lakshmi Mandyam of VMware. Now, staying with our coverage of the cloud, telcos have been strengthening their ties with the public cloud giants during the past 12 to 18 months as they look at moving their communication service provider workloads to the cloud. To assist telcos, VMware is launching a new product solution. To find out more, TelecomTV's editorial director Ray Lemaitre spoke with Stephen Spellisey, VP Service Provider Marketing at VMware.
You're announcing VMware Telco Cloud platform for public cloud today. Tell us how it can help CSPs to leverage public cloud infrastructure.
Well, Ray, in the development of this new product, we worked with some strategic customers and partners to evolve our existing platform to support the hyperscaler option, if you will. The approach is akin to rethinking how we architect the telco network itself, but doing that on a public cloud. We didn't do this in isolation. In fact, we worked with strategic CSP customers who are very visionary in their thinking. So for the product itself, VMware's Telco Cloud Platform for Public Cloud, or TCP for Public Cloud, it allows our service provider customers really to extend what they have built on-premise into, if you will, the public cloud. And it consists of all the same components, technically, our underlying product suite of capabilities like vSphere, vSAN, NSX, Tanzu, and our Telco Cloud Automation, or TCA product. We extend this, if you will, to a public cloud experience. VMware's TCP for public cloud is integrating tightly with a core architectural enhancement, something we call VMware Cloud on AWS. This is the first, if you will, entree, if you will, of our entry into this space. We're working with Amazon's AWS as the first platform to support in the cloud. And we're extending that TCP footprint in the cloud from core to edge to RAN, and doing this across public cloud to serve a variety of CSPs across the globe. Now, the product itself provides the same kind of consistent horizontal infrastructure experience and that multi-layer automation capability, and we're bringing that to the hyperscaler environment. And we're creating, in effect, multi-cloud capabilities which are consistent with the operation of the service provider today. This is going to allow them to realize their multi-cloud vision and really apply this as a core part of their strategy. Now, the last thing I want to mention is the new product introduces a new pay-as-you-grow concept for our Telco Cloud platform. We do this on public cloud, which is akin to the business model. And in addition to these existing models that already exist, we do perpetual and term-based pricing, et cetera. This new pay-as-you-grow concept allows them to effectively grow their investment in public cloud as they need it, as they see it. It opens up new procurement choices to the service providers that really tightly align with their business plans and their growth plans.
That was Stephen Spellisey announcing the new VMware Telco Cloud platform for public cloud. Partnerships and collaborations are absolutely key to success in the modern telecom sector. Ray Lemaitre spoke with Lakshmi Mandyam of VMware and Jitin Bhandari, CTO Cloud and Network Services at Nokia, to learn more about how two of the biggest names in the industry are working together.
Jitin, can you tell me more about the collaboration between Nokia and VMware and the growing role of a more open ecosystem to support 5G deployments?
First of all, thank you, Ray, for hosting this wonderful talk. And I must start up by saying that, the partnership between Nokia and VMware is a very special one. And why I say that, we started the virtualization journey about a decade back as we start taking on the NFV transformation for the telco worlds about, I would say, 8 or 9 years back in time. And here we are in the next generation transformation from virtualization to cloud native. All the more important for 5G, cloud native transformation has been foundational. And the foundational aspect for Nokia has been the relationship to any cloud and multi-cloud readiness and availability of our portfolio across both networks and operations. And from a VMware perspective, it's fantastic to have such a fantastic relationship between us, given the understanding that VMware brings onto the table from a platform perspective, especially the lessons learned from the virtualization era, bringing it brought forward into the cloud native era, as much as embracing the new technologies and trends, what we know of today from a cloud native perspective. So it's a very foundational one. It can definitely help drive the relationship, not only between Nokia and VMware, but also for the whole telco vertical as a whole.
And Lakshmi, VMware is a company that's committed to providing choice and flexibility to its customers. What CNFs and VNFs from Nokia are now certified on VMware's Ready for Telco Cloud platform? And why is this so significant?
Absolutely important, I think, for the industry that there is choice and that they have a platform where they can rapidly construct and deliver services. And Nokia is an industry leader in terms of providing customers with not only legacy kind of applications and supporting them, but also helping customers in this journey towards cloud native on very key applications. And in that journey, we've been working with them for the last couple of years at key customers. And as a part of that effort, we now have Nokia registers, Nokia Cloud Mobile Gateway, Nokia Cloud Mobility Manager, and Nokia Cloud Signaling Director now certified on our platform. And why is this important for customers? From our perspective, having these two industry leaders working together gives them a level of comfort in terms of being able to rapidly deploy and construct their services. And so this is why we see the partnership with Nokia as being special. I agree with Nitin, it is a special partnership. And we intend to continue doing that for a long time forward. So really excited to be able to talk about the great work that we've been doing.
Lakshmi Mandyam and Jitin Bhandari talking earlier with Rayla Matra. The cloud has also become an essential part of 5G deployment strategies. Canadian telco Rogers has been a long-standing partner of VMware for the last decade and operates Canada's largest 5G network, covering 800 communities and reaching over 19 million people. Diego Gastaldi, Managing Director Global Accounts with VMware, spoke with Bryce Mitchell, VP Core Network at Rogers Communications, about how the CSP is transforming its network.
Telecommunications is exciting, but quickly changing with the advancements in 5G and upcoming O-RAN, moving from virtualization to cloudification. How is Rogers readying its network to take advantage of this new cloud economy?
There's a lot of work that we're doing in this space. As you can imagine, this is an incredibly complex transformation for our industry, not just the technology that's coming into play, but the new business models and the new type of talent that we need in order to be able to really leverage this new capability. So some of the things that we've been doing in order to get our network ready for things like 5G and Open RAN is that we have been modernizing and uplifting our IP infrastructure with a heavy emphasis on automation, automated capacity management, and simplicity of network design. And we've been tightly integrating that evolved IP network capability with the VMware Cloud solution as well too. We've been doing a lot of work to optimize and align our physical resources. This takes an incredible amount of computing hardware in order to deliver. And so space, power, cooling in our data centers and edge sites have been something that we've been moving the needle on aggressively over the past couple of years to make sure that we have the capabilities in that space to be agile and flexible and move quickly on the opportunities as they came up. We've also been working really hard on developing new talent and skill sets within our organization. Our industry has an incredible challenge in front of it in that we have a very specific and focused set of technologies around networks, wireless, but also we need to converge that with new ways of working, cloud technologies, and software type of work. So we've been working really hard to train and uplift our existing employees, hire new talent, and get ourselves ready to take full advantage of this new technology. We've also been investing a lot in automation and self-serve to make sure that as we deploy these new new capabilities, we're doing it in a way that is really efficient and reliable and sustainable by trying to automate and remove as much manual intervention as we can from the activities that we'll have to complete on this network. And of course, continuing the theme of reliability, we've been heavily modernizing our monitoring and observability tools to make sure that we have a really good set of visibility and all the software and hardware layers that come together to deliver things like 5G and Open RAN and cloud computing to our customers. So those are some of the things that we've been doing here at Rogers to ready our network to take advantage of this new cloud economy.
Bryce Mitchell of Rogers speaking earlier with VMware's Diego Gastaldi. Now, as we heard from Bryce, much of the 5G focus is around the RAN, the Radio Access Network, and the emergence of Open RAN. With operators throwing their support behind the development of a more open RAN, one that is disaggregated, cloud native, and open to a much broader ecosystem of vendor partners, what will this mean in practical terms? To find out more, we've focused on one of the most exciting aspects of Open RAN, the creation of the RIC, or RAN Intelligent Controller, which will support the adoption of so-called XApps and RApps from third-party developers. Francis Haysom, Chief Analyst with Appledore Research, led a discussion with Cristina Rodriguez, Vice President Network and Edge Group and General Manager Wireless Access Network Division at Intel, and VMware's Stephen Spellacy, to delve a little deeper into the motivations and impact the RIC will have on service providers.
Stephen, I will start with you. Why are CSPs interested in leveraging the Open RAN intelligent controller capabilities? And how is VMware addressing this demand?
Francis, as you know, there's been a huge investment in 5G spectrum, coupled with obviously lower ARPU than expected. It's forcing CSPs to be way more judicious about their resource utilization, whether it's the spectrum, compute services, or any other services that they can monetize. They're coming from the underlying network itself. They want to be able to take advantage of that. CSPs are also facing growing complexity within the RAN, something that's bound to be more acute as we explore future generations of the network. Open RAN is giving CSPs unprecedented access to information, whether it's to the offering of services that they can monetize or actual information that they can utilize, such as cell location and actual radio data. The RIC is unlocking many of these capabilities, and it's allowing CSPs to develop differentiated solutions and things to market to employ solutions that have collaborated on with ISVs in the marketplace and vendors like VMware. We're just scratching the surface here, but we're finally unlocking data that's been hidden underneath the surface for decades, and the RIC is going to help fuel innovation around better control over complex and disaggregated Open RAN networks and improve security on what is becoming an expanded attack surface for CSPs that they need to defend.
Thanks, Stephen. Christina, if I can come to you next. VMware's RIC solution offers a deep access to data coming from the hardware layer, providing many of the capabilities Stephen mentioned. How is Intel driving this innovation?
We are doing it through a combination of hardware and software innovation. For example, in the hardware side, we have our Intel Xeon CPU processors, and they have built-in features and capabilities to optimize, to help optimizing and deploying AI and machine learning in both training and inferencing. For example, you take our third generation of Intel Xeon scalable processors, and they have built-in AI features, for example, our Deep Learning Boost functionality with extensive software optimization. In addition to that, of course, we continue evolving the microarchitecture, we continue evolving the instruction set to reduce latency and increase throughput and performance. In the software side, we have a great set of offerings, both coming from Intel and working with the open source and the community to accelerate AI and machine learning. And we have, for example, our Intel Neural Network APIs. We also have data analytics library, both within the one API programming model for a wide range of hardware. And also we have tools such as OpenVINO that provides AI model optimizer. We have also optimized some of the commonly used framework such as TensorFlow and PyTorch to run very efficient in our processors. And of course, also we have, very important for us, we have our FlexRAN reference software with all the real-time layer 1 data available. FlexRAN is the entire implementation of the layer 1 workload, and we have it completely compliant with the ORAN E2 interfaces for RIC and XApps and AR apps. So it's a combination of the processing power and the amount of software in the ecosystem. And very important, I would say also, is the collaboration and the working very closely with VMware, between VMware and Intel, to have a very optimized solution to have the best out of what the network can offer.
Cristina Rodriguez and Stephen Spellacy speaking there with Francis Haysom of Appledore Research. Intel has been an active participant in the ORAN specifications work, along with VMware, especially on the RIC. And both companies have collaborated with a range of partners to drive innovation in the Open RAN architecture. Caroline Chan, VP and GM 5G Infrastructure Division, Network Platform Group at Intel, spoke with several of the company's partners recently. She began by asking Dan Weil, COO of Cellwise, to identify the 3 must-haves of next-generation RAN automation platforms and frameworks, and how these will benefit mobile network operators.
I think the number one must-have for next-generation RAN automation frameworks and the RICs is the backward compatibility with non-ORAN network elements and multi-vendor, multi-architecture support. This will enable a unified process across traditional RAN, vRAN, and ORAN. And I will connect that the second must-have is a platform that provides the flexibility and modularity, which can enable existing RAN tool in the MNO toolchain architecture to enable a gradual and controlled transition. This is a key from an MNO to be able to reuse existing investment and to drive toward the transition. And last but not least is the capability to utilize intelligence function based on complex event processing and machine learning for enabling a surgical approach for automation and autonomous network optimization at the speed of the network. This is a shift in the current mode of operation with regards to RAN automation, which is going to dramatically change the value automation can bring into network management.
Thank you, Dan, for the answer. And that was very, very interesting. With that, let's go to Ray Dolan, Chairman and CEO of Cohere. So how has a partnership with Intel and VMware made a difference for your customers?
We've had a partnership with you and Intel, as well as VMware and Capgemini, for the better part of 2 years. You highlighted some of our major milestones already, but just to be clear, we did an initial demonstration in Deutsche Telekom. We did a subsequent one in Vodafone. They were different, but they kept coming back to the same common outcome, which is if we inserted ourselves as an XApp in a RIC, we could double the capacity of a network. And that's just huge when you consider the hundreds of billions of dollars that people have spent on spectrum and assets around the world. So it's been a tremendous partnership. Particularly valuable is how committed both VMware and Intel are to the Open RAN architecture, which is really the architecture of the future. The world is going to go, as you said at your introduction, into a new set of APIs, a new set of interfaces, a new supply chain. It's going to welcome in people from the compute industry, the cloud industry, the software industry. It's extremely interesting. And I've been in this industry for 35 years. This is like the high point, if you will, of my career, is really opening up the black boxes that have been in black boxes forever in wireless and allowing new blood into the ecosystem. Intel is the foundational layer. You personally, and as on part of Intel, have been committed to this space for 10 years now, and you're reaping the rewards of that investment. You guys are out there leading the world into an Open RAN silicon architecture with a PHY layer. Those are the assets that we levered. Of course, Altran, Capgemini was an important part of the stack. VMware is a very important part of the RIC. That's actually the box that hosts us. So the RIC from VMware is going to host our XApps, and our XApps are going to do all of the channel modeling, the beamforming, and the scheduling that's currently done inside base stations today.
Now let's turn to Poti and the CEO, Ed Chow. What do you feel is the biggest challenge that the solution providers face today when they enable 5G precise positioning?
Look, the biggest challenge, is, just like it is with anything in this industry, is deciding which technologies to use to meet the needs of certain use cases. The great thing about 5G is that it reduces a lot of those choices and complexities by combining high speed, low latency connectivity with the innate capability of precise location, down to the sub-meter X, Y, and Z level. This gives solution providers and system integrators all the tools they need to meet the unique needs of enterprises, giving them the freedom of choice of vendors to enable location and innovation. And ultimately, that's exactly where open interfaces, and in particular Open RAN and the RIC, come in. The RIC, both near-time and non-real-time, enable innovations like 5G precise positioning to be fully realized. And it enables startups like Pulte to work with companies and innovators like VMware and Intel to really bring that and accelerate that capability to market.
Thank you, Ed, for that very insightful conversation. So let me introduce Ravi, VP Technology of Capgemini Engineering, formerly Altran. What are Capgemini and VMware working together, and how does that benefit your customers?
So Capgemini and VMware have started to work on realization of a RIC-based solution, right, which is aligned to the ORAN specifications. What we see is like RIC is going to play a very key and integral part of the 5G and 5G plus journey. And towards that, there are three key pieces. One is the changes required in the CUDU, support in the CUDU of the G node itself. Two, the changes in the RIC itself, which is being developed by VMware, and then the XApp. So these are three key components. What we see is important as we go forward. And Capgemini has been working with VMware team on the CUDU side part of it to support the E2 related termination in the service models and the definition for various use cases. And we are also working with VMware team actually on the XApps for some of the other use cases as well. And for this particular use case of the MU-MIMO, we're working with Cohere to bring their XApp, VMware RIC, and then the Capgemini is actually CUDU integrated with the Intel FlexRAN 5. So it's an end-to-end demonstration done, but as a part of the specific journey, right? The E2 and the necessary changes in the CUDU, the RAN part, and the necessary integration interface with the RIC is what we have been working with VMware.
That was Ravikanth Pasumarthy of Capgemini Engineering, speaking earlier to Intel's Caroline Chan. Fascinating insights there from Caroline's guests on the 5G, Open RAN and the RIC. Now, one of the leading supporters of 5G and Open RAN is Dish, which is deploying its new network across the US. The company's decision to commit to a cloud-first architecture, along with open, disaggregated software and hardware stacks, are major departures from the orthodoxy in an otherwise risk-averse industry. I spoke with Sid Chenomolu, Vice President of Technology Development, Dish Network, and Rob Sony, VMware's Head of RAN Architecture, and I started by asking Sid to provide us with an update on the rollout of the Dish network.
So first let me say this, right? This is not just a 5G network. This is the 5G network. It's programmable, as you said, it's disaggregated, and it's open. I think over last few months, we made quite a bit of progress, and it looks good, to be honest. We are making some adjustments because of the recent announcements that we made with AT&T. In addition to T-Mo, AT&T is our partner, where our customers can roam onto AT&T network also when they're out of Dish coverage. And also, as everyone knows, we're launching with AWS. So we are not just doing 5G. It's more of an amalgamation of many of the first in the industry. It's a greenfield, it's an open RAN, it's a 5G standalone, it's a cloud native, and it's the only true hybrid cloud network. Right now, we are leveraging the power of cloud for testing. What I mean by that is that we are instantiating multiple test environments for our own testing within Dish, but also for all of our partners. That means every ISVs, every partner, every vendor that we have, they can request a sandbox and they can start testing within our AWS environment where they get exposed to the right infrastructure they need, the right tool sets they need, and they're going to test as if they were part of the Dish network. Now, as I said, we made quite a bit of progress, but there's some still work to be done, like data lifecycle management needs some work to be done. There's a lot of work that has gone through on the zero-touch provisioning and observability, but the finishing touches remain. It's more like a long tail of the distribution function, and the tail is quite long. Again, as I said, it's going to be a true hybrid cloud deployment. The RAN reuse are going to be running on VMware, and we're going to be running our core operations on AWS. In addition, I think there are quite a few things happening in build out of the network itself, and we're very comfortable in meeting our FCC deadlines for June 2022 and June of 2023. That's not going to be a problem. I think right now the more focus is on the automation, testing, and optimization of the network. To summarize, I would say that the plumbing is in place. Now we're just working on the smarts of the network.
Thanks for that update. And Rob, how is VMware involved in Dish's RAN infrastructure?
So first of all, thank you for inviting me to be here, and also thank you to Sid and our wonderful partners at Dish for enabling us to participate and be part of what is a very exciting new network. One that Sid has alluded to is fully open, growing at scale, and we're working both with them on the enabling infrastructure as well as the smarts that ultimately will allow them to operate this network at a significantly lower cost, and but at the same time offer significant opportunities for innovation. So our platforms today include those for base virtualization and for a Kubernetes layer. We call this platform, together with the automation suite that we developed specifically initially for Dish, but now are selling it widely in the market as TCP RAN. The TCP RAN portfolio supports VMs for the DU workloads, also supports Kubernetes and the remote management and distribution of those worker nodes via a concept called Stretch Cluster, which can actually be hosted, as Sid alluded to, in a hybrid or polycloud with the Kubernetes layer running on AWS on VMC. We also are supporting Dish in their desire to add intelligence smarts. So we announced this past week, and we are looking forward to doing a trial with Dish fairly soon, in the next few weeks, on our RAN Intelligent Controller suite. This includes what in ORAN terms is called the near real-time intelligent controller, as well as the non-real-time intelligent controller, which is part of what is often referred to as service management and orchestration framework layer. So we are building that for them. We've also enabled them with other VMware tools that allow them to increase the observability in the network and to do root cause analysis on potential failures, and to do this in a remote location without having to build out a full-fledged NOC or network operations center. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to continue to grow in this business with Dish as Dish grows out their network at scale. We're very excited about the upcoming commercial launch and how we will support that and essentially allow them the ability to deploy infrastructure in a simplistic way. And we've been looking extensively on how do we make it simpler and easier and ultimately reduce the amount of time associated with the lifecycle of deploying network functions at scale.
Rob Soni and Sid Chinamolu speaking with me earlier. Now, 5G and Open RAN rely heavily on cloud-native methodologies and approaches for their successful deployment and operation. And amongst the cloud-native tools that are gaining prominence in telecoms is containerization, which has taken the IT world by storm, enabling workloads to be packaged and deployed across environments more easily than before. And also, the wide adoption of the Kubernetes platform has brought automation and scaling to containers and is widely embraced in the telecoms industry. Yet one of the more persistent questions is whether or not workloads should be run on a virtualized environment rather than directly on bare metal. To find out, I spoke with Kit Colbert, the CTO of VMware, and Rajesh Gadiyar, Vice President Network and Edge Group and CTO of the Network Platforms Group at Intel. FlexRAN was created by Intel as a reference implementation specifically for virtualized cloud-enabled radio access networks. I started by asking Rajesh how this helps operators be confident in the performance of their disaggregated virtualized RANs.
So in order to realize the full benefits of 5G, the radio access network or RAN needs to be virtualized and disaggregated. Now, this is the journey that we've been on for a while, and we've built an important software stack called FlexRAN that enables you to build your RAN with cloud-native APIs. So Intel FlexRAN reference architecture is an off-the-shelf, general-purpose, server-based cloud-native platform that contains components of Intel processors, Ethernet, and hardware accelerators. So the first question to ask is, what KPIs are operators looking to deliver as they transform their radio access network? 5G networks, as you know, demand high level of flexibility, scalability, and automation to meet the latency, coverage, capacity needs, and to support various algorithms, analytics, and application needs. Overall, the operators are looking for optimal TCO and performance per watt per dollar. This is exactly what FlexRAN delivers. So Intel FlexRAN reference architecture enables the highest level of flexibility with programmable onboard features, memory, and I/O. The FlexRAN scales from small to large capacities with the same set of components, running different applications or functions, ranging from the RAN to the core network and data center, including edge computing and media, enabling economies of scale and new revenue opportunities for the operators. FlexRAN reference architecture can run various RAN workloads on standard server platforms due to the general purpose nature of its architecture. So aside from L1 signal processing for 5G, FlexRAN also provides layer 2 building blocks to give customers a one-stop layer 1 plus layer 2 reference design on a standard server platform. Additionally, as the O-RAN architecture begins to gain momentum in the industry, we are focused on utilizing AI capabilities for building what are called as RAN intelligent controllers or RICs, both near real-time RIC and non-real-time RIC, along with XApps and RApps. The idea is to use time series-based traffic data and real-time platform telemetry to gain efficiency in radio networks via AI-driven automation. So FlexRAN has been hardened and deployed in production in many operator radio access networks and is proven to deliver the KPIs in operator networks around the globe. It has become the reference platform of choice for virtualizing the RAN.
Thanks, Rajesh. And Kit, when it comes to vRAN and O-RAN, why is running RAN workloads on a virtualized environment rather than bare metal the better decision for today and tomorrow?
Yeah, this is a good question. It's something that we think about a lot. And what's interesting about it is I see the same sort of progression, not only within the telco space, but from a lot of our enterprise customers as well. This notion of going from traditional hardware-based solutions to virtualization, VMs, to container-based solutions. And I think that's the same progression we're seeing here in terms of traditional, physical RAN devices to virtualized RAN to the new O-RAN, beautiful future, right? And it's imperative that you support these different mechanisms simultaneously because you cannot reinvent the world in one day, right? It takes time, it takes years actually to move through this. And so I think one of the really powerful aspects of virtualization is that it gives you that flexibility and optionality to move forward at the pace that makes the most sense for you. One of the challenges that I see a lot with customers is that when they go all in, they're trying to reinvent the world too quickly. The reality is we can't predict what's going to happen next. And if they've committed to this 2-year timeline or whatever it is to rewrite everything, they're not going to be able to adapt to other changes in the industry or other business needs as they might arise. So I think that the really powerful thing about this platform is that it is very much a future-ready platform. It leverages virtualization at its core to do this. As I mentioned before, even if you get to the point somewhere in the future where you are running, completely containerized workloads, all CNFs, right? And you've gotten past or moved beyond all the VNFs, it's still extraordinarily powerful and, in fact, the best platform for those workloads. And so, yes, I do believe that leveraging virtualization is both the platform for today and absolutely the platform for tomorrow.
That was Kit Colbert, CTO of VMware, underlining the case for virtualization as the optimal platform for today and tomorrow. Architecting and deploying networks is incredibly complex, especially those that utilize cutting-edge technologies such as 5G and Open RAN, hence the need for strong partnerships within the ecosystem. VMware has been working alongside Dell on a cellular project in Italy. TelecomTV's Ray Lemaitre spoke with Maurizio Gradi, Advisory Systems Engineer at Dell Technologies, and Francesco Sorrentino, Senior Business Development Manager at VMware, to find out more.
So thanks for joining us today. Maurizio, can you tell us about the recent project that the two companies worked on in Italy? What are the elements involved in the solution and how were they structured?
So we started doing this commercial trial with Telecom Italia, and we have implemented a 4G Open RAN solution and a 5G Open RAN solution, both fully disaggregated and fully virtualized. The 5G RAN is implemented in a multi-operator connector flavor. So actually, we are connecting that to an NSA core and an SA core network. So in partnership with VMware and Mavenir, we have put together an hardware and software infrastructure to prove it in a real environment in the city of Matera. Matera is a small city in the south of Italy. From their point of view, it was critical to install purpose-built edge servers with the ability to operate in a central office room where temperatures are tough and there are, environmental challenges. Definitely, we are not in a data center. We are in a transmission room of a central office. Another key factor was also the deployment of network components which are able to synchronize with the transport network and distribute the clock to the U and to the remote RU in this project. On this infrastructure, we have installed the VMware TCP platform, the Telco Cloud platform, and the Mavenir network function to create a fully disaggregated solution with the ability to manage all the components, the CU, the DU, and the RU.
And Francesco, what are you seeing are the main challenges being experienced as operators begin their real-world Open RAN deployments?
The operators, the GSP, expect a certain maturity of the technology, because we are talking about something that is not born now, but in the last years, of course, in the last few years. So the maturity of the technology has to be mandatory, an expectation from the CSP. So all the maturity of the other ecosystem, not only, let's say, the players that we are seeing today, Dell and VMware, but also all the CU and DU and the radio unit vendors that have to reach the maturity that is comparable with the traditional RAN deployments. And also another challenge that we see is also the availability of the ecosystem. So the ecosystem is the key factor in the ORAN success. So the ecosystem, supplier ecosystem, has to improve and getting farther and farther more. Okay, and this is something that will let ORAN, of course, having success, because also this is something that will decrease the cost. More competition, less cost. And also the differentiation. So we have to be very good together with all the ecosystem in order to differentiate ORAN from the traditional RAN deployments. So differentiation will prove the benefits and the reasons why to change. And the differentiation is based on my point of view, also on the benefit of the use case that the operator can run on a RORAN appliance instead of the traditional RAN. That's my point of view.
Ray Lemaitre speaking there to Dell's Maurizio Gradi and VMware's Francesco Sorrentino. As we heard from VMware CEO Raghu Raghuram at the beginning of this summit, VMware has a long history of working with the world's leading CSPs and is now helping them with their 5G rollouts, becoming the operating system of 5G as they move towards software-powered RANs. To follow up on this, Kit Beale, VP Worldwide Telco Vertical Sales at VMware, spoke with Chet Patel, Director Commercial, Indirect Channels and the Americas at BT. Kit first asked Chet about how working with VMware is helping BT unlock opportunities for its multinational customers.
How is BT, along with your customers, how are you embracing the new digital technologies and what they expect from managed service providers?
Every company is going through a level of modernization, and they need to do this to address new changing opportunities, markets, demand, be more agile, create differentiated experiences for their end customers going forward. And that means innovating faster, deeper, with different and bigger ecosystems, to be honest, all on digital platforms. And one of the things that we've tried to do throughout the pandemic period is stay really, really close to our customers, continually understand their insights, how they're operating, where they want to go to, how things are working out, what partnerships they're forming, the behavioral aspects of their users and their customers. And we're sort of taking on all this insight and trying to co-innovate with our partners and vendors, such as VMware, to understand their future needs a bit more. And we've simplified the way that we work, the way that we go to market, how we measure NPS, and something we call the model office, which is all about standardizing how we work to drive efficiencies for our customers. And we've also increased the speed of our releases. So we operate like a software company now in terms of the releases of our products and updates, etc., going forward. And that's helped with the launch of products and services such as our new Eagle Eye platform, which proactively helps us predict and prevent cybersecurity attacks. And these managed services all need to come with a wrap. It's really important that we design them well, we deliver them well, and then we manage them in life. And then going forward, if customers' demand changes, we have a really strong change control process to help them evolve as they go forward as well, Kit.
Chet Patel of BT speaking with VMware's Kit Beale. The Edge. What is it? Where is it? And more importantly, what opportunities will it offer to CSPs? The telecoms industry has been talking up the potential of edge computing for years, but now it's starting to become a reality and a strategic imperative for network operators as 5G strategies mature. In a moment, we'll hear the views of Dan Rodriguez, Corporate Vice President, GM Network Platforms Group at Intel. But first, here's Sanjay Upal, SVP and GM Service Provider and Edge Business Unit at VMware, to give us VMware's definition of the edge.
There's been a lot of talk of the edge, and you do get many definitions from different people. So what VMware is saying is that the edge is distributed digital infrastructure spread across a number of locations for running workloads. And these locations are close to where the endpoints are either producing or consuming data.
So we consider 5G and edge as really two key technology inflection points that are really going to shape not only industries for years to come, but also serve as a technology foundation. And when you think about 5G, and you think about it by itself, it has the possibilities to deliver all sorts of low latency services, as well as also high bandwidth applications. And that in it of itself really turns up a huge opportunity, or enables a big opportunity to build out computing and new use cases at the edge. So the way their comm service providers see this, they see this as an opportunity when they roll out their 5G networks to set up those networks in a way that they can not only deliver network services, which you would expect, but also be able to deliver new AI-based edge services from a variety of locations and have the capabilities to really shift those workloads around to whenever and kind of wherever they need it to deliver the best result for their customers. In addition to this, we all know there's tons of data out there. So with edge compute, it provides the opportunity to truly tap into that data, turn that data into useful insights, and create kind of powerful experiences for both consumers and businesses alike, enabling to help them deliver better TCO as well as better top line and bottom line results for their companies. And we do see this impacting a wide variety of industries, whether that's factory floors, retail, events, healthcare, or education. So we're truly bullish on both 5G and edge, and you can see them working side by side together.
That was Dan Rodriguez of Intel and Sanjay Upal of VMware giving us an introduction to the edge. Ram Venkatramani, Senior Director, Solutions, Service Provider and Edge Business Unit at VMware, spoke with some of VMware and Intel's partners to learn more about edge computing and how it is delivering compute and storage power to a range of industrial environments. He first asked Richard Piacentin, Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Strategy Officer of Accedian, about the key performance monitoring and assurance capabilities that organizations will need for edge computing infrastructure.
The whole vision around edge computing, mobile edge computing is the idea that to optimize the experience of an end user's consumption of a particular application, we will orchestrate where in that fabric of compute the application for that end user runs. That brings two different challenges that are quite important from Accedian's perspective anyway. First, the workload automation system or orchestration system needs to know what the best serving compute node is for that particular user at that particular time. In utilizing Skylight Analytics to monitor both the infrastructure performance as well as the application environment performance in real time fed into your orchestration systems at VMware allows for optimized workload distribution. Second, when you think about end user experience, and remember, end users here don't necessarily have to be people, they can be machines. But the point is, we're trying to optimize responsiveness of a particular application to that endpoint's requirements.
Thank you, Richard. Next, we will talk to Matt Trefiro from Vapor.io. One of the biggest challenges facing enterprises as they look to deploy private 5G networks and Industry 4.0 applications is the cost and complexity of implementing these services with on-premises data center and IT infrastructure. Vapor.io has solved these problems by bringing its Kinetic grid infrastructure to within microseconds of the factories, retail stores, warehouses, and all other facilities that need those capabilities. So Matt, can you tell us how the Kinetic grid benefits these enterprises?
Well, first, you can think of the Kinetic grid as the internet cloud and networking infrastructure woven directly into the fabric of a city, much like an electric grid. It's largely invisible, it goes everywhere, it's available on demand whenever and wherever you need it. And communication service providers use the Kinetic grid with VMware's Telco Cloud platform to both densify their networks, but perhaps more importantly, to deliver new services to enterprise customers in a local market. So there are a few ways that the Kinetic grid combination benefits end users. So first, it brings capabilities to the enterprise that they never had before. In the past, you had to choose between on-prem and cloud, and there were trade-offs for each. But now there's a third option, which we call near premises, and that's where you can deliver an on-premise performance with cloud agility and cloud economics through the Kinetic grid. Second, because the Kinetic grid exists all over a city, it gives communication service providers a way to deliver enterprise customers all the benefits of on-premise workloads without them needing to even own a data center or IT equipment on their premises. They get all the performance, security capabilities that would be on premises without the cost and complexity of on-premises infrastructure. And then really, I think the most important is all of this becomes a catalyst for Industry 4.0, making it much easier and cost-effective for enterprises to leverage the transformative applications such as cloud robotics, AR, VR, smart retail, and so on.
Now let's talk about the edge and the potential it holds for content delivery networks with Xavier Leclerc of Broadpeak. So why is quality so important?
So no one likes to see their video stream buffering, right? Especially when it's live football going into the living room. And I think we are now at the pivotal time in the industry where consumers prefer to use streaming rather than legacy broadcast technologies like satellite or terrestrial television. And we see it, for example, in Italy today, where the top soccer game, the Serie A, is not broadcasted anymore. It is only available in streaming with an OTT provider called DAZN. Right. So in those environments, Broadpeak provides a technology that allows the CSP, like Telecom Italia, to open their network and allow DAZN to leverage the video delivery assets they can offer, right? That Telecom Italia can offer. And in this case, for example, it's multicast, right? So to me, this is exactly what needs to be done to solve the challenge around video delivery, right? Whether it's multicast or unicast, the CSP own content or third-party content, everything can be delivered through a containerized piece of software like a Broadpeak CDN. And now we also know that the video, in the video world, the quality comes with proximity, right? The ability to serve content very close to where it is going to be consumed. So to deliver at scale, the quality that is expected, CSPs have no choice but to distribute the content further and distribute their video functions to the edge. And you see there are a lot of conversations around the edge, right? And CSPs often ask us, what is a good application to run at the edge? The question is really, what is the application that is going to justify the deployment of an edge infrastructure? And in other words, if I'm going to open a new bus line for passengers, for example, who buys the bus, right? My view is that because of the quality and scale, the video delivery is definitely a good fit to run on the Telco Edge Cloud. So definitely a good passenger for the bus. But it may even be a strong candidate to buy the bus, right? Because the CDN today, they rely on an existing business case, right? We know how much the OTT providers are paying the global CDNs, and this money can be diverted to the CSPs who are providing a CDN function on the Telco Edge Cloud. Deploying this video delivery function into many more locations is where the traditional approach of Broadpeak, doesn't scale anymore. It cannot be on bare metal. It has to be virtualized, and this is where deploying a containerized software load onto VMware, can deliver this compelling experience that all customers are expecting.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Xavier. Thanks a lot for joining us today. Next up is Douglas Mancini from Ori. So Douglas, how is Ori innovating in the edge technology for telcos?
Well, thanks, Ram. So, if you look at CSPs and telcos in general, there's a lot of talk about edge. We've heard it from some of the other panelists today and edge use cases. One of the things that comes up again and again and again is monetizing the 5G network and the 5G investment, the 5G core, now that it's virtualized. But when you talk to the CSPs, how are they really going to monetize it? What are the use cases? Is microseconds really required? Is even double-digit milliseconds required? Well, actually, they don't always know. And with Ori Industries, we not only bring a business case, and as Xavier very well said, the bus, who's going to pay for the bus? We bring the bus, we bring the business. We have curated a marketplace of ISV workloads around the globe, which are edge ready and deployed across the Ori net, which is our own metro set of sites. And we bring this to the CSPs as part of a business that they can deploy immediately on their Ori Global Edge powered unified operation plane.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Douglas. And finally, Neve Zimmerman, who is a technical director at ASOX. So based on your experience with real life installations, what can you tell us about the private 5G market?
That's a very interesting question, Ram. ASOX has already seen the growth of different industry reports on papers, but we have experienced the high demand firsthand with growth of many new installations this year. Virtually all the main manufacturing countries in Southeast Asia and most of those in Europe already have 5G spectrum assigned for private network use. And we see the spectrum is adopted by manufacturing at an astonishing rate of growth. Additionally, one of the key drivers has been to offer a SaaS model, a pay-as-you-grow business model, that allows the flexibility to grow as you need with a flexible business plan. All of that is part of the regular IT function on a single management dashboard of the industrial enterprise. Now let's get specific for a second and break the misconception of what industrial enterprises really need at this stage. We see that the average plant size is under 30,000 square feet. They require around 30 to 50 simultaneously connected devices, which for the most part are cameras and AGVs. And these plants do not require the 10 gigabit of capacity. Most of them are barely scratching the capacity of 1 gigabit. But this is only the tip of the iceberg when getting to know the need of that industry in firsthand.
That was VMware's Ram Venkatramaneni in conversation with some of the company's partners for its edge solutions. And you can watch the full video on demand. Just follow the links that accompany this summit. The recent spate of large-scale security lapses and ransomware attacks at enterprises and CSPs is shining an ever brighter light on the topic of cybersecurity, especially given the rise of remote working and a more distributed workforce. To discover what can be done to address these challenges, my colleague Ray Lemaitre spoke to Bob Ghaffari, General Manager, Enterprise and Cloud Networking Division at Intel, and Craig Connors, VP and CTO, Service Provider and Edge Business Unit at VMware.
So, Craig, let's start by looking at performance. Following the pandemic, the workforce wants and expects the ability to work from anywhere without compromising their application experience. They want service performance consistency. What can CSPs do to help enterprises enable this?
Yeah, great question. And I think this is where SASE or Secure Access Service Edge really comes into play. We have this modern distributed workforce. Workers are spread out all over the place. Applications have moved, not just in the data center, public cloud, SaaS services. And we want that consistent experience that employees have come to expect, regardless of where they are, regardless of where the application is. And to your intro's point, we need to do it in a way that's secure so that users are not impacted by all of these attacks that are going on in the world. And that's where SASE really comes as a benefit. A couple key things for CSPs here. First, there's obviously a benefit to CSPs in terms of being able to capture revenue as we move from corporate networks and MPLS and traditional means of connectivity to this larger distributed workforce. But there's also a benefit that CSPs provide uniquely to the end customers that might not be immediately apparent. And that is, as our workforce distributes, and I go from, say, 50 corporate offices to hundreds or thousands of employees working remote, the burden on corporate IT staffs has grown significantly. And so a lot of customers are looking to CSPs to help them offload some of the management of this new, larger distributed network that they have to monitor so that they can empower their remote workers, but without having to take that entire burden on themselves.
So, Bob, let's come to you now. What is Intel doing with VMware to improve the capabilities and offerings of communication service providers?
So with VMware, we have a very close partnership, and what we really try to do is complement each other in terms of where and how we can help. And where we find that Intel can really help VMware is, one, making sure that we're delivering the best hardware on the edge, as well as in the cloud, or the network edge, if you will. So that's one of the first things that we do. And the way we sort of look at this is, you need a platform to solve today's problems, but you also need a platform that can solve tomorrow's problems. And as the software evolves and as you deliver these new releases, you want to make sure that the platform can keep up with these new ways of addressing these kind of problems. And so the way that we work with VMware is to make sure that we're enabling that seamless, transparent way of delivering the hardware that can run this awesome software.
Bob Ghaffari and Craig Connors there, providing us with an update on important developments for enterprises and communication service providers. Now, we can't end this summit without taking a glimpse into what the future has in store. Whilst it is still early days in terms of global 5G rollouts and deployments, and there are many more years of development and innovation to be realized, the telecoms community needs to keep a watchful eye on the next generation of cellular. The breakthrough technologies that will eventually become 6G or might even form part of 5G Advanced are still being developed in research labs and universities, but they are coming, and their path to standardization and commercialization needs to align with operators' current 5G workloads. I spoke earlier with Kpis Mardi, Vice President Distributed Edge at VMware, and asked her what changes should CSPs make as they evolve their networks and infrastructure towards a faster rollout of 5G and a simpler adoption of 6G.
So a CSP have been doing quite a big transformation. They've gone through tremendous transformation since the early days of SDN and NFV, and it's a long journey. It all started with the introduction of SDN, and then network function virtualization came along, and now we are on to the cloud native evolution of the network functions toward cloud native applications. All good. I think the next big challenge that really needs to be addressed, specifically in the space that some call last mile, some call far edge, is distribution of compute and connecting compute in a seamless manner, such that the applications remain truly distributed, but still they function as a whole. So disaggregation and distribution of network functions, whether they are virtualized or cloud native, remains quite a big undertaking. And I think with the rollout of 5G SA coming to fruition, I think we will be able to uncover the deployment and operational challenges there, and we will be able to overcome those. Then with programmability also comes the possibility of new threat vectors. Security was something that was an afterthought in 5G, and taking this next step in the evolution of 5G towards 6G, we would really like security to be the front and center when we look into next G, which is the next chapter of 5G or even 6G. Resiliency, we all have gone through a fundamental shift in the way we live, work, and play. Pandemic basically caused a massive distribution of assets and technology functions that used to reside in well secured, protected DMZs. Now they're all distributed, so resiliency becomes front and center. Then the next big challenge that I see, and this is a challenge that we've been trying to address for the past 10 years or so, is the data itself. So any new generation of wireless, be it 5G or evolution of 5G to whatever it becomes, or 6G, will be very, very heavily reliant on data. And the industry has done made tremendous progress in using AI for betterment of many workflows that circle around us. However, when you look at the state of the art in the telecommunications network, data still remains to be a very big unknown. There needs to be mechanisms to be able to lift the telemetry, drive insights from the telemetry, and use those insights to drive automation. I think that is, in my opinion, one of the biggest challenges, that once we have gone through the deployment cycle of distributing the network functions, it's imperative that we start taking a serious look at how we make use of the enormous amounts of data that is hidden in the telecommunications network to automate telecom systems, as well as use that data for the betterment of the applications and the people that they serve.
VMware's Kpis Mardi speaking with me earlier about the evolution of 5G towards the inevitable 6G. And that brings to a close our Telco Innovation Summit. We've covered the cloud, the edge, security, Open RAN, 5G, and even 6G, and much more besides. We hope you've enjoyed the summit and gained some valuable insights. Our thanks to VMware, Intel, and to all the guests who took part. And if you have any questions about the summit or the topics, then please do get in touch. There are also links on the website to related content, including the full-length videos of many of the highlights that we have covered in this summit. For now, though, from all of us involved in the production of the Telco Innovation Summit, thank you very much for watching and goodbye.